The morning sky above New York turned purple when the alien ships arrived. Commander Elena Vasquez was drinking coffee in her office at the Terran Defense Command when the alarms started screaming. Through her window, she watched massive vessels block out the sun like dark clouds. The first beam hit downtown Manhattan. The entire district vanished in white light, leaving nothing but a perfect circle of glass, where millions of people had lived moments before. Elena dropped her coffee mug and ran for the command center. "Report!" she shouted as she burst through the doors. "Hostile fleet detected across all major population centers," Lieutenant Hayes called out, his voice shaking. "They appeared without warning. No response to our communications." The main screen showed the nightmare. Hundreds of alien ships hung over every major city on Earth. They were beautiful in a terrible way. Smooth, organic curves that seemed to pulse with their own light. But their purpose was clear. "Beijing is gone," someone whispered. "London, too." Elena watched the tactical display as red markers appeared and disappeared across the globe. Each red dot meant millions of dead humans. Her hands clenched into fists. "Sir, incoming transmission," Hayes said. It's in English." A voice filled the command center. It sounded like wind chimes mixed with grinding metal. "Primitive species of Sol 3. Your resistance ends now. Submit to the galactic hegemony or face extinction. You have one rotation to surrender." B. Elena grabbed the communication device. "This is Commander Vasquez of the Terran Defense Force. We demand to know why you're attacking innocent civilians." The alien voice laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "Innocent? You spread across your world like parasites. You wage war upon each other. You poison your own habitat. The galaxy has no use for such chaos. You will serve the hegemony as workers, or you will die." "Go to hell," Elena snarled. The transmission cut off. Seconds later, the alien ships opened fire again. Elena watched helplessly as her homeworld burned. The aliens were methodical, efficient. They destroyed military bases first, then government centers, then communication hubs. Earth's defense fleet launched what ships they could, but it was like throwing rocks at a hurricane. The USS Enterprise, humanity's newest battleship, lasted exactly 43 seconds against a single alien cruiser. Elena had trained on that ship. Good people died in those seconds. "Commander, we're getting evacuation requests from all over the planet," Hayes said. "What are your orders?" Elena stared at the tactical display. 3 billion people were already dead. Earth's military was broken. Their technology was centuries behind the aliens. Any sane person would surrender. But Elena remembered her father's words from when she was a child. He had been a soldier too, back during the resource wars. "Sometimes, Elena, the only way to win is to refuse to lose. Open a channel to all remaining defense units," she ordered. "All ships, all stations, everyone still fighting." "Channel open, sir." Elena took a deep breath. "This is Commander Vasquez. Our homeworld is lost. Our fleets are destroyed. But we are not beaten. I'm ordering a full evacuation of all surviving personnel and civilians to the outer colonies. We retreat, but we do not surrender. We will rebuild. We will return. And we will make them pay for every human life they've taken." The next few hours were chaos. Elena coordinated the largest evacuation in human history. Ships that had never been meant for passenger transport loaded themselves with refugees. Cargo haulers, mining vessels, even luxury yachts. Anything that could reach the outer rim colonies. Elena watched from the bridge of the heavy cruiser Defiance as transport ships fled Earth. Behind them, the blue marble that had been humanity's cradle was already changing. The aliens were strip mining the continents, sucking up resources with massive machines. "Sir, incoming transmission from the alien fleet," Hayes reported. He had refused to evacuate without her. "Let me hear it." The wind chime voice spoke again. Commander Vasquez, your evacuation is noted. Do not mistake our tolerance for weakness. Your species is catalogued as useful labor stock. We will collect your scattered people when convenient. Resistance will only increase your suffering. Elena smiled grimly. You made one mistake, alien. You let some of us live. The transmission ended. Elena turned to her crew. The few hundred men and women who had volunteered to be the last ones off Earth. Set course for Kepler Station. Maximum burn. Sir, that will drain our fuel reserves completely, the navigator warned. Good. We won't need them where we're going. As the Defiance jumped to faster-than-light travel, Elena looked back at Earth one last time. Smoke clouds covered the surface. Alien ships swarmed around her like metal locusts. But the planet was still there. Still spinning. Still waiting. The aliens thought they had won. They thought humans were just another primitive species to be enslaved or destroyed. They had never faced an enemy that got stronger when cornered. They had never fought creatures that turned hatred into fuel for revenge. Elena settled into her command chair and began planning. Somewhere in the darkness between stars, humanity would gather its strength. They would learn. They would adapt. And when they returned to Earth, they would teach the galaxy a lesson about underestimating the human spirit. The galactic hegemony had made their first and greatest mistake. They had left humans alive, who remembered what home looked like before the aliens took it away. 5 years had passed since the burning of Earth. Dr. Marcus Chen wiped sweat from his forehead as he worked in the hidden laboratory carved deep inside asteroid X-47. The air recycling system hummed constantly, a reminder that they lived in a tin can floating in the void. Pass me the quantum resonator, he called to his assistant, Dr. Park. We don't have quantum resonators, Marcus. We have alien junk and human ingenuity, Park replied, handing him a device cobbled together from 3 different alien technologies. This thing shouldn't work at all. Marcus smiled as he fitted the hybrid device into his latest creation. That's what makes it perfect. The aliens built everything to work together seamlessly. Their technology is like a symphony, every part in perfect harmony. But what happens when you throw a rock into a symphony? You get beautiful chaos, Park said, understanding. The device in Marcus's hands looked like someone had taken an alien weapon and rebuilt it with spare parts from a human military surplus store. Copper wire held together crystalline alien components. Earth-made circuits were soldered directly to organic alien neural interfaces. It was ugly, crude, and completely unpredictable. Marcus activated the device. A low humming sound filled the lab, and every alien computer terminal in the room suddenly went haywire. Screens flickered, holographic displays exploded into random colors, and 2 service robots started spinning in circles. Neural Scrambler Mark 7 is a success, Marcus announced. The aliens' technology depends on psychic networks and bio-interfaces. This little beauty broadcasts pure human chaos directly into their systems. Dr. Park grinned. They think we're primitive because we use metal and electricity instead of living computers. They never considered that our primitive technology might be immune to their control systems. Across the asteroid base, Captain Sarah Kim was having her own revelation about alien weaknesses. She stood in the war room, studying intelligence reports from resistance cells across 12 different star systems. Look at this pattern, she told her lieutenant, Torres. Every time our people attack alien supply convoys, they respond the same way. They calculate the most logical defense, deploy their forces in perfect formations, and expect us to follow standard military doctrine. Torres studied the tactical displays. But we don't use standard doctrine anymore. We can't afford to. Right? Right. Exactly. Watch this. Sarah pulled up footage from last week's raid on a Vorthak supply depot. The aliens had 3 times our firepower and perfect defensive positions. By all military logic, we should have been wiped out. The video showed human fighters attacking in a completely chaotic pattern. Some ships dove straight at the enemy guns, while others attacked from impossible angles. A few fighters even rammed into alien vessels, sacrificing themselves to create openings for others. The aliens couldn't predict our moves, because we weren't following any logical pattern, Sarah continued. We attacked like desperate animals, not trained soldiers. Their tactical computers couldn't calculate responses to pure human desperation. Lieutenant Torres shook his head in amazement. So, our greatest weakness became our greatest strength. The aliens have been fighting civilized wars for thousands of years. They've never faced an enemy that fights like cornered rats. Sarah's eyes gleamed. Time to teach them what human desperation looks like on a larger scale. In the deeper levels of the asteroid base, Engineer Jackson worked on humanity's secret weapon. He stood before a massive construction project that filled the entire chamber, the skeleton of humanity's first hybrid warship. The vessel was a monster born of necessity. Its hull was built from salvaged human military armor welded to alien metal alloys. Human fusion reactors powered alien shield generators. Earth-made kinetic weapons were mounted alongside energy cannons stolen from dead alien ships. Sir, the propulsion system is ready for testing, Technician Brooks reported. Jackson nodded. Fire it up. The hybrid drive system came to life with a sound no alien had ever heard. The deep rumble of human fusion technology, combined with the musical hum of alien gravity manipulation. It was wrong by every standard of galactic engineering. It was inefficient, unpredictable, and completely impossible to replicate. It was perfectly human. Drive output is stable at 60%, Brooks called out. But, sir, the efficiency ratings are terrible compared to pure alien technology. Good, Jackson replied. Efficiency is predictable. Alien computers can calculate efficient responses. They can't plan for something that works when it shouldn't work at all. The ship's AI system activated. Another human innovation. While aliens used organic neural networks and psychic interfaces, humans had developed purely digital artificial intelligence. The ship's computer couldn't interface with alien systems at all, making it immune to their electronic warfare. Computer, run tactical assessment, Jackson ordered. The AI's voice was purely human. No wind chimes or musical tones. Tactical assessment complete. This vessel operates outside all known galactic military parameters. Enemy response calculations will be unreliable. Jackson smiled. Music to my ears. Across the hidden human colonies, similar scenes played out. In asteroid mining stations, human engineers built weapons that shouldn't work. In camouflaged bases on dead planets, soldiers trained in tactics that civilized armies had abandoned centuries ago. In laboratory, ships drifting through empty space, scientists combined human desperation with alien technology to create impossible hybrid devices. The aliens continued their occupation of Earth, completely unaware of the growing storm. They had cataloged humanity as useful labor stock and moved on to more pressing galactic concerns. Their computer models showed the scattered human survivors would eventually die out or be easily recaptured when convenient. The galactic hegemony's greatest strength was their ability to predict and control. Their technology, their military, their entire civilization was based on logical perfection and seamless integration. They had never encountered a species that thrived on chaos, that turned desperation into innovation, that could take their beautiful, perfect technology and twist it into something wild and unpredictable. In the darkness between stars, humanity was learning to be human again. Not the peaceful, civilized humans who had built cities and dreamed of the stars. These were the humans who had climbed out of caves and conquered a world through sheer, stubborn refusal to quit. The galaxy was about to remember why evolution had given humans the ability to smile while planning violence. Dr. Marcus Chen stood before the assembled resistance leaders in the main conference room of Haven Station, humanity's largest hidden base. In his hands, He held a device that looked like a child's toy compared to alien technology. Rough metal housing, exposed wiring, and blinking LED lights. "Ladies and gentlemen, meet the Mindari's worst nightmare," he announced, setting the device on the table. Captain Sarah Kim leaned forward. "It doesn't look like much, Marcus. That's the point. The Mindari Confederation controls their entire empire through psychic networks. Every soldier, every ship, every weapon is connected to their collective mind. They can predict enemy movements by reading thoughts and coordinate attacks through pure telepathy." Marcus activated the device. A low buzzing sound filled the room, and several people winced as they felt a strange pressure in their heads. "What the hell is that?" Lieutenant Torres asked, rubbing his temples. "Pure human chaos," Marcus replied proudly. "The Mindari read thoughts and predict behavior based on logical patterns. But human minds are different. We dream, we imagine, we think random thoughts that make no sense. This device amplifies that natural mental noise and broadcasts it directly into their psychic networks." Admiral Chen, Marcus's sister, and now the commander of the growing human fleet, smiled grimly. "You're saying we can drive them insane? Better. We can make them blind. When their psychic networks try to process human thoughts, they get overwhelmed by pure, random chaos. They can't predict what we'll do, because we don't even know what we'll do until we do it." Engineer Jackson entered the room carrying another impossible device. This one was clearly built from alien technology, but twisted into something the original designers never intended. Crystalline components pulsed with Earth-made electricity, while organic circuits were bypassed by crude copper wiring. "The dirty tech project is complete," Jackson announced. "We've successfully corrupted an entire Zephyrian data core." "Corrupted how?" Jackson grinned. "We taught it to think like a human. Zephyrian technology is based on perfect logic and seamless integration. Every system talks to every other system in perfect harmony. So we introduced human irrationality into their network." He activated the corrupted data core. The alien device began displaying impossible readouts. Weapons that fired backwards. Shields that attacked their own ships. Navigation systems that calculated routes through the center of stars. Their technology is so advanced that it assumes all input data is logical and correct. Jackson explained. They never built safeguards against deliberately chaotic information. When we feed their systems human-style random data, they try to process it as valid input and basically have a nervous breakdown. Dr. Park stepped forward with the latest intelligence reports. "We've identified another crucial weakness. The Vorthak Empire's military doctrine is based on honor, combat, and predictable tactics. They've been the galaxy's dominant military force for 3,000 years because they've perfected warfare into an art form. And," Admiral Chen prompted, "they've never fought against enemies who don't care about honor, fair play, or following the rules of war. Our recent raids have completely confused their command structure. They keep expecting us to fight properly and can't understand why we use kamikaze attacks, suicide bombers, and ambush tactics." Sarah laughed harshly. "They think war is a chess game. We know it's a knife fight in an alley." Over the following months, human innovation exploded across the resistance. Every challenge became an opportunity to turn alien superiority against itself. When the hegemony's energy shields proved impervious to human weapons, human engineers developed kinetic harpoons that punched through the barriers and deployed inside enemy ships. The aliens had never considered that someone might physically breach their shields rather than trying to overpower them. When alien scanners could detect human life signs from vast distances, human soldiers learned to hide among space debris and dead satellites, using the galaxy's own junk as camouflage. The sophisticated alien sensors were programmed to ignore non-threatening objects and never noticed humans floating among the wreckage. When alien communications networks proved impossible to hack, humans simply started jamming them with Earth music, comedy shows, and random broadcasts from human entertainment systems. The aliens' perfect communication arrays couldn't filter out the chaotic human transmissions and fell into constant static. The resistance grew bolder with each success. What had started as desperate survival tactics evolved into a comprehensive strategy for fighting enemies who were technologically superior but mentally unprepared for human chaos. In the hidden shipyards of Titan Base, humanity's first war fleet took shape. The ships were monsters, hybrid vessels that combined alien technology with human unpredictability. They were powered by fusion reactors that shouldn't work alongside gravity drives, armed with kinetic weapons that had no business being mounted next to energy cannons, and controlled by AI systems that thought like humans instead of logical computers. Fleet status report, Admiral Chen requested during her daily briefing. 15 hybrid cruisers operational, 37 fighter squadrons ready for deployment, reported Fleet Commander Rodriguez. All ships are equipped with dirty tech warfare packages and neural scrambler systems. Combat readiness? Rodriguez smiled. By alien standards, our fleet shouldn't be able to function at all. Every ship is a collection of incompatible technologies held together by human stubbornness. But they work because we built them to embrace chaos rather than avoid it. The breakthrough moment came when Dr. Marcus Chen successfully tested the ultimate human weapon against alien logic, pure creative irrationality. Computer, analyze the tactical situation, he ordered the ship's AI during a simulation. Analysis complete. Enemy forces are superior in all measurable categories. Recommended action: immediate retreat. Computer, ignore all logical analysis. What would a desperate human do in this situation? The AI paused for several seconds, an eternity in computer time. A desperate human would attack the enemy's strongest point while ignoring their own survival. They would use tactics that guarantee their own destruction, but might achieve their objective through sheer bloody-mindedness. Exactly. Load that tactical package into all fleet computers. Marcus watched as the simulation ran again. This time, the human fleet engaged in completely suicidal tactics, ramming attacks, kamikaze strikes, and frontal assaults against impossible odds. The alien defense computers couldn't calculate responses because the human tactics made no logical sense. The simulated human fleet lost 70% of its ships, but achieved complete victory because the aliens never adapted to fighting an enemy that considered mutual destruction an acceptable outcome. Marcus smiled and opened a communication channel to all human forces across the galaxy. This is Dr. Chen with an announcement. We've figured out how to beat them. Not through superior technology or better strategies, but by being more human than they ever imagined possible. The galaxy is about to learn why evolution gave humans the capacity for beautiful, terrible, completely illogical creativity. In response bases across dozens of star systems, humans received the message and began to smile. They had spent 5 years learning to turn their greatest weaknesses into their most powerful weapons. The galactic hegemony was about to discover that the most dangerous enemy in the universe was a species that could look at impossible odds and decide to attack anyway. Admiral Elena Chen stood on the bridge of the flagship Retribution, watching the blue marble of Earth grow larger on the main screen. 5 years in exile had changed her. The desperate evacuation commander was gone, replaced by something harder and more dangerous. A woman who had learned to turn hatred into a weapon. Fleet status report, she ordered. All vessels reporting ready for combat, came the reply from Captain Torres, now her fleet coordinator. 57 hybrid warships, 200 fighter squadrons, and one very angry human species. Through the viewports, Elena could see the impossible fleet humanity had built in the darkness between stars. Each ship was a unique monster. No two looked alike because they had been cobbled together from whatever alien technology could be stolen, salvaged, or ripped from the hulks of enemy vessels. The UHSV Defiance bristled with kinetic cannons welded to Vorthak energy weapons. The UHSV Vengeance used Zephyrian shield generators, powered by human fusion reactors that should have exploded from the incompatible energy frequencies. The UHSV Fury was essentially a flying asteroid hollowed out and stuffed with missile launchers. "Sir, incoming transmission from Earth Orbital Command," Communications Officer Hayes reported. "The Zephyrians are demanding we identify ourselves and state our intentions." Elena smiled coldly. "Open a channel." The main screen flickered to life, showing a Zephyrian commander in the pristine white uniform of the occupation forces. His face was perfectly symmetrical, his movements graceful and precise. He looked at Elena's scarred features and battle-worn uniform with obvious disgust. "Unidentified human vessels, you are entering restricted hegemony territory. Submit to boarding inspection immediately, or be destroyed." "This is Admiral Elena Chen of the Free Terran Alliance," Elena replied calmly. "We're here to evict you from our home." The Zephyrian's expression didn't change. "Your species was catalogued as useful labor stock 5 cycles ago. Resistance is futile. You will surrender your vessels and report for processing." "Counteroffer," Elena said. "Get off our planet in the next 30 minutes or we'll show you what desperate humans look like when they're really angry." The alien commander made a sound that might have been laughter. "Your primitive vessels pose no threat to the occupation fleet. We have 300 advanced warships and orbital defense platforms. Your pathetic collection of scavenged technology cannot hope to." Elena cut the transmission. "All ships, commence Operation Homecoming. Show them what ugly ships can do." The battle for Earth began with the most chaotic space engagement in galactic history. Human ships attacked from every direction at once, ignoring all conventional tactical doctrine. The UHSV Vengeance flew straight at the largest Zephyrian battleship and rammed into it at full speed, its crude armor punching through energy shields that should have been impenetrable. The ship's AI, programmed with human irrationality, calculated that trading one ship for an enemy capital vessel was an acceptable exchange rate. Meanwhile, fighter squadrons led by Captain Sarah Kim swarmed through the orbital defense grid like angry hornets. Their ships were too small and too chaotic for the sophisticated alien targeting systems to track effectively. A fighter built from salvaged cargo hauler parts and armed with human rocket engines dove straight into a defense platform's reactor core, taking out the entire installation. "Sir, the Zephyrian fleet is trying to establish defensive formations," Torres reported. "They're following standard military doctrine, protecting their flagships, coordinating shield overlaps, establishing firing solutions. They're fighting the war they know how to fight," Elena observed. "Too bad we're not fighting that war. All ships, execute. Pattern Chaos 7. The human fleet immediately abandoned any pretense of organized combat. Ships attacked individually, in pairs, in random groups that formed and dissolved without apparent logic. Some vessels focused on ramming attacks while others provided covering fire. A few ships simply flew in circles around the enemy fleet, drawing fire and creating confusion. The Zephyrian commander tried to adapt, but his tactical computers couldn't process the human attack patterns. Every time his systems calculated an optimal response, the human formation changed into something completely different. "Enemy flagship is attempting to retreat," Weapons Officer Martinez announced. "Lock onto their engines and fire everything we have," Elena ordered. The Retribution's hybrid weapon systems opened fire, a combination of kinetic rounds, energy beams, and experimental weapons that shouldn't have worked together. The alien flagship's shields held for exactly 4 seconds before the chaotic mix of different damage types overwhelmed its defensive systems. As the Zephyrian commander's ship exploded, Elena opened communications to the entire alien fleet. "This is Admiral Chen to all hegemony forces in Earth orbit. You came to our world thinking we were primitive animals. You were right. We are animals, the kind that bite back when cornered. You have 30 seconds to begin retreat procedures before we demonstrate what apex predators look like when they're defending their territory." The response was immediate. Some alien ships began powering up their faster-than-light drives, preparing to flee. Others, bound by military honor or simple disbelief, continued to fight. Elena watched as the human fleet tore through the occupation forces with techniques no civilized military had used in millennia. Ships deliberately collided with enemy vessels. Fighter pilots ejected from their damaged craft and used personal rocket packs to board alien ships, fighting hand-to-hand in corridors designed for graceful, civilized beings. The turning point came when Dr. Marcus Chen's neural scrambler reached critical mass. Every human ship was broadcasting chaotic mental patterns directly into the Mindari psychic network. The alien psychics, trying to coordinate their fleet's defense, were overwhelmed by pure human emotional chaos. Rage, desperation, bloodthirsty joy, and the terrible satisfaction of long-delayed revenge. One by one, Mindari ships began firing on their own allies as their psychic navigators lost the ability to distinguish friend from foe in the storm of human consciousness. "Sir, enemy fleet cohesion is collapsing," Torres reported with barely contained excitement. "They're retreating from all sectors." Elena watched alien ships flee Earth's orbit, their perfect formations broken by 5 years of human innovation and fury. Below them, the blue marble of humanity's homeworld waited, scarred but still beautiful. "Open a channel to all human forces," Elena ordered. "Channel open, Admiral." Elena looked at Earth, then at her hybrid fleet of impossible ships crewed by people who had learned to thrive in chaos. "This is Admiral Chen, to all Free Terran Alliance forces. Phase 1 is complete. Earth is liberated. But we're not going home just yet." She smiled, and it was not a pleasant expression. "The galaxy needs to learn that humanity doesn't forgive and doesn't forget. Time for Phase 2. Let's go introduce ourselves to their homeworlds." Behind her, the impossible fleet of hybrid vessels began forming up for their next impossible mission. They had proven that human desperation could overcome alien superiority. Now it was time to prove that human anger could conquer the galaxy itself. The Galactic Council chamber on Nexus Prime had never seen such chaos. Representatives from 1,000 species shouted, argued, and demanded explanations as reports flooded in from across hegemony space. "The humans have destroyed the Zephyrian core fleet. They've taken 3 Mindari colony worlds. Vorthok Prime is under siege." Council leader Thane, a crystalline being who had mediated galactic disputes for centuries, called for order. "Silence. We will address this crisis systematically. General Vorthok. Report on the military situation." General Vorthok, Supreme Commander of the Hegemony's military forces, stepped forward. His usual arrogant bearing was replaced by something the galaxy had never seen before: fear. "Council leader. The situation is unprecedented. The human species has launched simultaneous attacks against all 3 hegemony homeworlds. Their tactics are completely outside all known military doctrine. Our computer models cannot predict their behavior." "Explain," Thane commanded. "They fight like madmen," Vorthok said simply. "They use kamikaze attacks as standard operating procedure. They sacrifice entire fleets to achieve minor tactical advantages. Their ships are technological impossibilities that somehow function through sheer bloody-minded determination and their psychological warfare." He paused, his voice breaking. "They broadcast human entertainment signals during combat. My flagship's crew was mentally compromised by something called heavy metal music and a transmission about exploding Earth creatures called action movies." Across the galaxy, Admiral Elena Chen stood on the bridge of the Retribution as it led the assault on Vorthok Prime. The planet's orbital defenses were impressive. Massive battle stations that had protected the Vorthok homeworld for millennia. "Sir, enemy defenses are coordinating a textbook orbital defense pattern," Captain Torres reported. "Overlapping fire zones, perfect formation integrity, optimal resource allocation." "How boring," Elena replied. "Captain Kim, Are your infiltration teams in position? On the tactical display, dozens of small craft were approaching the battle stations. They looked like debris or escaped cargo pods, nothing that would trigger defensive responses. Affirmative, Admiral, Sarah Kim's voice crackled through the communication system. Trojan horse teams are in position. Remember, these people think war is an art form. They've never dealt with enemies who fight dirty. Elena smiled. Execute Operation Pest Control. The debris suddenly came alive. Each piece of junk was actually a camouflaged assault craft, carrying human soldiers armed with dirty tech weapons and neural scramblers. They attached themselves to the battle station's hulls and began cutting through armor plating with tools that combined human plasma cutters with alien molecular disruptors. Within minutes, human soldiers were inside the supposedly impregnable battle stations, fighting hand-to-hand with Vorthak defenders who had never trained for close-quarters combat. The aliens were stronger and faster, but humans had spent 5 years learning to fight dirty. Private Martinez used a combination of human martial arts and alien gravity manipulation to throw a Vorthak warrior through his own shield generator. Corporal Jackson disabled an entire defensive array by feeding it corrupted data that made it interpret friendly ships as targets. "Sir, orbital defense grid is falling apart," Torres announced with obvious satisfaction. The Vorthak can't adapt to having enemy infantry inside their installations. On Mindari Prime, the psychic capital of the hegemony faced its own nightmare. Dr. Marcus Chen had perfected his ultimate weapon, a massive neural scrambler that didn't just disrupt psychic networks but actively corrupted them with human consciousness. The Mindari Collective, used to the orderly thoughts of civilized species, was experiencing human emotions for the first time. 5 billion psychic beings suddenly felt rage, desperation, chaotic creativity, and the terrible joy of violence. Their perfect mental unity collapsed into screaming madness as they experienced what it meant to think like cornered animals fighting for survival. Meanwhile, on Zephyrian Prime, Engineer Jackson led the technological assault. His teams had spent months preparing a special gift for the species that considered itself the galaxy's technological masters. "Viral upload complete," Jackson announced, as his team infiltrated the planet's central computer core. Initiating Chaos Protocol. Across Zephyrian Prime, every computer system suddenly began operating according to human logic instead of alien efficiency. Traffic control systems started playing Earth music instead of coordinating transport. Manufacturing plants began producing random objects instead of planned products. Even the planet's weather control system became confused and started generating patterns based on human artistic sensibilities rather than optimal atmospheric management. The Zephyrians, who had built their entire civilization on perfect technological integration, watched helplessly as their world descended into beautiful, creative chaos. Back on Nexus Prime, the Galactic Council was receiving real-time reports of the unprecedented assault. "Vorthak Prime has fallen," General Vorthak announced, his voice hollow with defeat. "The humans landed ground forces on our homeworld. They fight without honor, using tactics our warriors cannot counter. They show no mercy, take no prisoners, and seem to consider mutual destruction an acceptable outcome. The Mindari Collective has gone insane," reported the Mindari representative, speaking in a broken whisper. "The humans weaponize their own chaotic thoughts against our psychic networks. Our people are experiencing emotions we have no words for. Some are claiming to enjoy the sensation of violence. It's unthinkable. Zephyrian Prime's infrastructure is compromised beyond repair," added the Zephyrian delegate. "They've infected our systems with something they call human creativity. Our perfect technological harmony has been replaced with random artistic expression. Our computers are composing poetry instead of calculating orbital mechanics." Council leader Thane processed this information with growing horror. How is this possible? Humans were catalogued as primitive labor stock. Their technology was centuries behind ours. We underestimated them, General Vorthak admitted. We assumed primitive meant weak. We never considered that primitive might mean unpredictable. They don't fight wars. They commit acts of organized violence, guided by pure, emotional fury. A new voice cut through the council chamber. Admiral Elena Chen's transmission from the bridge of the Retribution as it hung in orbit above Vorthak Prime. Galactic Council. This is Admiral Chen of the Free Terran Alliance. We're here to discuss new terms for galactic civilization. Admiral Chen, Thane replied carefully. The hegemony is prepared to negotiate a cessation of hostilities. What are your terms? Everyone. Admiral Chen. Elena's laugh was sharp and cold. Terms. You destroyed our homeworld, killed 3 billion humans, and tried to enslave our species. There are no terms. There's only justice. What do you want? Thane asked desperately. We want the galaxy to remember what happens when you corner the apex predators from Sol 3, Elena replied. We want every species to understand that humanity doesn't start fights, but we finish them. And we want you to live with the knowledge that you created us. Created you? 5 years ago, we were peaceful explorers who dreamed of joining galactic civilization. You turned us into something else. Humans who learned that the universe only respects violence, and who got very good at being violent. Congratulations. You made us into the monsters you needed us to be. Well, the transmission ended, leaving the Galactic Council in stunned silence. Across the galaxy, the impossible had happened. 3 homeworlds of the most powerful species in known space had fallen to a race that used copper wire and nuclear weapons. Humanity had proven that technological superiority meant nothing against creatures who could turn desperation into innovation and hatred into unstoppable force. The galactic hegemony was broken, its member species scattered and demoralized. In its place, a new power emerged, humanity, armed with alien technology and guided by the terrible knowledge of what they were capable of when pushed too far. The galaxy would remember this lesson for millennia to come. Never again would they underestimate a species simply because they seemed primitive. Never again would they assume that superior technology guaranteed victory. And in the depths of space, human ships patrolled new borders, protecting a galaxy that had learned to fear the creatures from the small blue world, who turned chaos into victory and made the impossible seem routine. The galaxy had created its own nightmare, and its name was humanity.